All right, let's get into it. Today, we're opening a case file. Case file M-01 to be exact. We're looking at what you might call a cosmic catastrophe. But we're not just telling a story here. We're actually mapping the moral geography of an entire universe, charting the very coordinates of a soul's epic fall.
Now, to really get a grip on this case, our investigation has to start at the end, with the consequences. We have to begin our cartography in the darkest sector, the place where the ink of this map has pooled the thickest, documenting the fallout from a rebellion that went very, very wrong.
So let's crack open the first section of this dossier, Act 1, the Sector of Despair. This is really the first act of our cosmic tragedy. It's the realm that was built right after that failed coup, and it's a place that wasn't built for living, but for brooding and, well, for plotting revenge.
Our file shows that after being cast out, the leader of the rebellion, who's referred to here as the adversary, and all his followers, they built this place called Pandemonium, right from the ruins. It's described as a masterpiece of architectural spite, a dark capital with these barren valleys, all of it designed for the cold, hard logistics of planning a comeback.
But here's where the file reveals a really critical detail. This so-called hell, it isn't just a place. It's a psychological state that the subject carries around with him. The key insight is what the dossier calls hell within, a mindset where your own torment is so internal that where you are physically just doesn't matter anymore. The ultimate irony, right? In trying to build his own kingdom, the adversary only succeeded in building a prison inside his own mind.
Okay, so to really understand the forces that were at play before the main incident, our investigation has to travel to the complete other side of this cosmic map, to the Sovereign Peaks. This realm is documented as the seat of absolute authority, and it's ruled by a figurehead known as the king. It's a place of overwhelming light, total transparency, and order, and it's all governed by the cold logistics of what the file calls right reason. From this place, laws are issued that are meant to be a moral compass for the entire cosmos, though, as we've seen, the rebels ended up seeing them as nothing more than restrictive chains.
And this just lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? The two opposing poles of this moral universe. On one side, you have the spiteful, internal darkness of the Sector of Despair, and on the other, the absolute, external light of the Sovereign Peaks. This is the fundamental conflict that really powers this entire case file.
So now the investigation turns to a brand new sector, one created right between these two warring poles. It's a pristine testing ground, and it's known as the terrestrial frontier. This sector, also called Eden, it's shown as a village of perfect pre-fall innocence. It's kind of a bridge between the spiritual and the physical worlds. And here, a subject named Adam is stationed as its sovereign steward. And the key parameter of this whole celestial experiment is a test of loyalty, through free will. So what's the primary variable in this whole delicate setup? Well, the file is crystal clear. It's the relational factor. The entire test, the very balance of this new world, it all hinges on the bond and the choices made by its two main inhabitants.
And that brings us to the central event in our case file. The focus of the entire investigation now narrows down to a single, critical coordinate on our map.
Okay, let's dive into this. The coordinate is the tree of knowledge. The file gets a little poetic here. It calls it a forbidden, shimmering lantern. This is the precise spot where the king's explicit orders meet the rising heat of human desire.
And it's right here, at this coordinate, that the breach happens. The methodology is noted as a sophisticated subversion of truth. When the wick of that forbidden lantern is lit against orders, the atmosphere of the entire sector just shifts violently. That bliss is replaced with the very first experience of internal conflict and the heavy weight of suffering.
So following this breach, the dossier starts to track the operational geography of the adversary himself. And what the evidence shows is a consistent and pretty dramatic decline.
The file charts a really clear degradation here. The adversary's own space shrinks, from the cosmic ambition of a majestic archangel to the petty spite of a shivering shadow, and then finally to the diminished form of a crawling reptile. In his attempt to ruin the king's new creation, the adversary only made his own internal exile more miserable. It kind of proves that turning away from the light leads to an inevitable decay of the self.
But our case file doesn't just end in despair. The final act documents not an ending, but a new beginning on a very different kind of frontier.
The final panels show the subject's expulsion from that village of bliss and their move to the rocky fields, a totally new world defined by hardship and by labor. They leave with wandering steps, but they don't leave empty-handed.
You see, the dossier reveals they carry a new internal map. This paradise within is fueled by a flickering spark of the king's promise. They carry a map of hope, and it turns these rocky fields not into a prison, but into a training ground for a more resilient and informed faith. So ultimately, this whole cosmic cartography, it serves as a map of our own internal condition, doesn't it? This entire epic of fall and redemption, it concludes not with an answer, but with a question for us to carry forward. In the middle of our own rocky fields and personal exiles, where do we locate our own frontier of hope?